Patricia Venco's life didn't just change, it inverted. After meeting a young man from a prominent Arab family in London, she was pulled from a quiet German upbringing into a world defined by its absolute lack of limits. This is the Concorde in mid-flight. Patricia wasn't just traveling, she was navigating the globe via supersonic jets and private planes, living in a reality supported by a constant staff of chauffeurs, maids, and private chefs. Her social circle shifted to include the world's most recognizable figures, including Michael Jackson. The lifestyle was a persistent, high-status dream that very few ever experience. Look at this silver Rolls-Royce. These were the daily tools of her life in London, alongside yellow Harley-Davidsons in Los Angeles. It was an existence of pure, unbothered extravagance. Amidst the luxury, her boyfriend's quiet adherence to Islamic values, respect, dignity, and the role of the individual, began to grate against her own reality. She started looking at the Western fashion industry and the constant pressure to perform through her appearance. She asked herself a difficult question. Was she choosing to show her body because she wanted to, or because she had been conditioned to believe her value depended on it? She realized that when society dictates the parameters of your beauty, your choice isn't actually a choice. If you have to display yourself to be considered valuable, you aren't free. You're participating in a different kind of script. When traveling to her boyfriend's home country, the lack of a social scene left her with nothing but time. She filled the silence with investigation, buying books and watching VHS tapes of religious scholars who analyzed the Quran through the lens of logic and science. This photo shows deep-sea hydrothermal vents. Patricia found herself staring at verses describing flames in the depths of the sea. She struggled to explain how an ancient, desert-dwelling society could accurately describe volcanic activity miles beneath the ocean's surface. Here are majestic mountain peaks. The Quranic description of mountains as pegs, with deep roots that stabilize the Earth's crust, aligned with modern geological understanding, a fact that shouldn't have been known 1,400 years ago. Each new piece of data made it harder to maintain her skepticism. Her intellect was increasingly sold on the evidence, creating a growing friction between her private convictions and the high society life she was still physically leading. This is the Masjid al-Haram in Mecca. One afternoon, Patricia turned on the television to a live broadcast of the evening prayer, and for the first time, she really watched. She listened to Sheikh Sudais reciting the Quran, his voice trembling with a weight she had never heard in the Catholic school or London cafe. She didn't speak Arabic, yet she found herself crying uncontrollably. It was a visceral reaction, as if her soul recognized the source of the words, even if her mind couldn't translate them. In that moment, the existence of God became her only truth. She returned to Germany and visited a humble backyard mosque. There, surrounded by a small circle of people, she officially took her declaration of faith, feeling a lightness she hadn't known in years. The compromise was over. She told her boyfriend they had to marry or she would leave. When he admitted he wasn't ready, Patricia didn't hesitate. She packed her bags, walked out of the mansion, and let the door click shut on that life forever. She had traded every private jet and VIP service for spiritual integrity. Her soul had reached a point where it could no longer survive in a gilded cage. The descent was immediate. Patricia found herself back in Germany as a divorced, single mother with no savings and no job. She was staring at a housing market where even high earners were being rejected daily. With no material safety net left, she turned to the concept of tawakkul, absolute trust. She decided to stop fighting the circumstances and simply submitted, asking for guidance to whichever home was best for her children. She found one listing for a house that fit her needs perfectly. The landlord was blunt. Dozens of people were coming to the viewing, and she would need a miracle to stand out among the crowd. This diagram represents what happened next. A technical error in the landlord's system deleted every single email application, except for Patricia's. Because of that glitch, she was the only person who had the address. She arrived first, and against all logic, she got the house. When you remove every human safety net and fall into total submission, you realize that you were never being held up by the money or the status in the first place. But the years of stress had left a physical mark. Patricia's body eventually collapsed into severe autoimmune diseases. She lived in a state of constant pain and such deep exhaustion that she could no longer stand to pray. Fearing a terminal diagnosis, she began a frantic search for health. One day, her mother asked her to check a Facebook post about berries and cancer, a small, uncharacteristic click that led her into the world of holistic research. This animation shows biofilm, a sticky, toxic layer that can build up inside the gut. It acts as a shield for bad bacteria, slowly poisoning the body's immune system from the inside out. She learned that modern, processed foods are the primary fuel for this sludge. By feeding the bad bacteria, a standard diet was helping this layer expand, causing the chronic inflammation that had grounded her life. She saw the pattern. The same modern industries that had tried to dictate her appearance were now dictating her health through processed convenience. Her physical body was paying the price for a lifestyle that prioritized the external over the internal. This biological research led her back to the Quran. She began to see the text not just as a spiritual guide, but as a manual for human biology. This diagram illustrates the distinction between halal and tayyib. While many processed foods are technically halal or permissible, they often fail the test of being tayyib, which means pure and good for the body. Sugar might be permissible, but it isn't pure. Look at these natural vegetables. Patricia realized that healing meant returning to what is tayyib, using clean, whole foods to flush the toxic biofilm from her system and rebuild her health. Today, Patricia is healthy, standing as an advocate for holistic science and ancient wisdom. She brought her mind, soul, and body into a single alignment. Patricia Venco didn't just find a religion, she found a way to be whole. When the mind is educated, the soul is submitted, and the body is purified, you stop running. You're finally able to hear the question the Creator asks in the Quran. So where are you going?